All right. So this is for third year, fall term. It is, yeah, the instructors was Maxime and myself, part of the design track. However, with the third year, so that particular semester is the beginning of the skill application stage within the curriculum, as you could see here. So, come in, let me just have my pointer. Where is it? Okay. So this is the skill application stage, and this is where we are. We moved from the core skills development, and now we're moving into the application part. The course synopsis, okay, again, it's a bit long, but it talks about integrated design, meeting the direct and hidden needs of a local community, emphasizing on the private versus the public program spaces. It wants to address students to the complexities within an urban context, the dimension of technique and computation. Computation meaning looking into the performance of the building in terms of energy and environment. Okay, it looks into the forces of on-site seen through its geography, culture, and legal dimensions. Accordingly, students should acquire integrative design technical skills, where building codes and regulations, structural challenges, site specificity, and environmental condition systems are scrutinized and analyzed in the formulation of innovative. That particular synopsis, we try to ingrain it within the condition within which we are living in. Okay, we are saying that we are living in a remarkable stage of transition. Nevertheless, everybody is insisting mostly on denying such a state by either objectifying and copying a past, being unaware of current sociocultural and economic conditions that are deeply influencing the two spheres of our lives, being private or that of the public. That particular dimension helped, within that situation, had in, positioning our projects or investigation within that particular sphere, so to speak, helped us to move even a bit outside the set of CLOs that are, established for the course itself, and I'll explain in a moment. What I'm saying is the course researches how these transformations must undoubtedly lead to a fundamental change in the architecture, production, and design, while investigating the limits and boundaries between the private, the common, and the public spheres, posing the question on how we can generate new architectural patterns with its roots in the local society while responding to actual challenges and those changes. In the beginning, the studio wanted to address these questions through two projects, one that focused mostly on the private sphere, while the other eventually that has to be applied onto the system and processes of design that is in front of you. Okay, it means that the students had to be subjected to site and analysis from a natural and cultural perspective, looking into, in that particular situation, into a peri-urban condition and analyzing it from a legal, physical, and economic perspective, allowing that analysis to move into the design concept. In other words, and that's very, very critical in our approach, pedagogy approach in the teaching of the students, is not only to undertake an analytical process, but always analysis is always connected to the synthesis in terms formulated through design directives that they need to commit to for the design concept. So this is one axis. The second axis was user need assessment, and this is really why is it that we have moved away, and not only moved away, added to the set of CLOs the pre-design stage in the formulation of a program, because we did not want them to fall into a preset program that is not critically analyzed. And that was done by the user need assessment. And given the lockdown, given the online, we have followed, I would argue, quite an innovative and successful approach in undertaking such a process. noting that the economic situation was an important factor also in that, which meant also that we added the financial understanding and the impact of the financial or the economy on the program to play also a role in the formulation of the program as such. So selection and economic criteria of the users and what happens to them also has taken a part in the design process of the semester. So they've learned also to do that, ending with a set of functional diagrams and design standards that need to be incorporated with the design concept. The third axis of learning and investigation within that particular theoretical discourse of what is public versus what is private and the relation between the two is the studying precedents, using really learning what it means to undertake the set of precedents and how it allow them to inform the design concept. Having done that, we have not addressed materiality and the technology along the same manner as we should have in the way the course synopsis or requirements has been set. These are the set of SPCs that we wanted to address. The ones in pink, the B1, the pre-design, and the financial considerations were not a requirement, but we were forced to include them to meet our targets. So with the site design process, and this is something that I will go back to, so the B2 and the site analysis and formulation of the site design. The site design is obviously a very much important part of that. However, for the analysis, it's not included within the B2. It is included within A2 that is not present, but we depended on it. However, we had to teach students a lot to undertake that at the same time. In that particular processes, we went from all the way from the small scale, proximity of touching, hearing, smelling, and then moving away in distances and scope to viewing on different levels, to the walking, to the driving, and then to seeing things from a bird's eye perspective. Within that framework, we've always emphasized the yin-yang relationship between inside within the architecture and the outside spaces and the way they should be integrated one to another. Although that is a very simple concept, we've struggled across the whole semester trying to push them to think about the relationship between the two, outside and inside. And we've looked into the site not only from its immediate context, but we've learned through all these lenses that you in front of you, whether topography, soil, water, humidity, climate, wind, and what have you, across a number of scales from the city to the district level to the neighborhood and to the immediate context, trying to look into that particular system within a particular target being how to achieve what it means to and how to achieve sustainable living. Okay, so that was the main driver in looking through this particular dimension. Obviously, environmental systems had to be taken into consideration. Building envelope, why? Because as you do the analysis, you need to address those dimensions, okay, in the formulation of your design directives. And we pushed them a lot, and we've taken quite substantial amount of time in studying this. That is only the natural. The remaining part of the site analysis becomes the urban cultural conditions, and another set of lenses they were subjected to, and they've looked through these 4 dimensions through different scales through them, whether through pollution, morphology, typologies of buildings, the urban legislative zoning and building regulations, the densities and variation of the densities and what it means on the urban setting, the land use, and obviously how land use would impact their choice of the program as well, looking into the Kevin Lynch, another dimension, and then dimensions of connectivity. Okay.
That would challenge a master's degree student, yani.
Sorry?
What you're doing is challenging a master's degree student. But
it is for them to expose them to the reading of an environment and how to formulate and push them to create those design directives, not stopping at the level of analysis. Otherwise, it will fall short in helping them or integrating those factors into the design. So coming to terms with the pre-design, which is about the formation of the program, we have set up, from a financial perspective, we've devised what we call a set of coins. So every student had a number of coins that they could dispense with, and that we have asked them to formulate a different group of, to formulate for a group on WhatsApp and on Facebook. That group would be formed of 5 different families, 4 to 5 different families, with the particular criteria. They shouldn't, one of the group should be, part of the family. Otherwise, the rest should not be, and with different income groups, with different number of members inside the family, different persons with special needs, main bread owner could be not necessarily male, could be female, and age and head of the household. All these criteria should have been different in their formulation of their groups. So we had like 20 students at the beginning, and so we had around 105 different families that by the end of the day they had to deal with. But at the beginning, each student would need to deal with only 5, and they had to work to define the program based on that particular set of people to be discussed. So within the moving to the set of precedents, also there were a number of lenses that they had to deal with. They were around 12 lenses, but if you add the site, because the site obviously is an important parameter in looking into any project, so they need to include all the previous 16 lenses into the different case study that they had to analyze. So by the end of the day, we had around 45 different case studies looking into all what you see in front of you, not only site, but material and technology, the program, the typologies of densities, urban context, language, etc., modularity, vertical and horizontal circulation, you name it. Okay, so these were the different also lenses that they were subjected to. Having said that, you could see now how our CLOs were correlated, expected to correlate to the project 1 and 2, with respect to the co-op housing and with respect to the public building, and the relationship between them as well as to the NAB. These are the different correlations. So we were hitting more than one CLO per SPC. And we subdivided them into a number of CL. We have 9. Some of them were dependent, as I mentioned, on realms that were graded but not taught as such, although by the end of the day we had to teach them a lot on that particular dimension, especially when it comes to the site analysis and synthesis, and I emphasize on that. Our CLOs were grouped according to contextual immersion, what we call extrinsic forces. Within the intrinsic forces, about what we call topographia, chorographia, venustas, firmitas, and by the end of the day, the integration through the narrative conceptualization, and how these actually met the different CLOs on these particular structures. That was the outline. Very neat, very straight, very tight. I would argue. We all, Maxime and I, at the beginning, we realized the tightness of the semester for us to meet all the CLOs in those two projects, but we depended on the commitment of the students to pick up the pace with us on the delivery of what is required. That, unfortunately, and this is just a a close-up of the first project, and you could see the CLOs and the CLOs to NAB and how each phase, okay, was meant to meet those particular learning objectives. With on the side the course references that we had to use. That was the theory, and this is the practice. The practice was that the first project took most of the semester, with the second project taking one segment of another like 2 weeks of the semester, and the remaining part of the semester was fully dedicated to the project, to the co-op housing. The site analysis, site design took around 21 days and 9 sessions, programming and pre-design 9 days and 5 and you could see, by the way, here in red the extensions that we had to bring into the schedule and amend the schedule for the sake of ensuring that our students actually are learning what is it, I mean, gaining the required CLO, rather than just saying that we have undertaken such an exercise without ensuring that by the end of the day, the majority of the class would have grasped the essence of and the competency in meeting the CLOs. So we went to the program and testing through massing, and then the use of precedents, which was very effectively done. And then we went back after the use of precedents to do the site design massing concept, at the point of which we decided to stop the work and to move into the Republic of Tripoli, which is going through a conceptual design of the second project to give them the sense of break, okay, within the intensity of the front, coming back to the concept design and integrated design within the last 24 days of the semester. From an intensity of student participation and attendance, you'd realize if this is 100% at the site analysis and site design, we had 3 to 4 students, I don't remember, 4 students actually dropping at that moment in time. So already we have lost 4 students at the programming and pre-design stage. And then after the use of precedents, which was done with that particular level of intensity of the full presence of the students, after we finished the user's precedent and started with the massing concept, there was a massive drop in the participation and presence of the students. The aspect that led us after 12 days and 6 sessions to decide to let's create a cut, and that has proven to be extremely useful, because we have regained the full energy of the students back into the semester, into the course, and they fully participated energetically and very successfully, I would argue, in the design of that within the 2 weeks, something that they could not achieve in terms of commitment, at least to the first project. And when we moved back, unfortunately, it never picked up. The presence or the intensity of the student participation was relatively low until the end of the semester, and with the grades you would see that that was very much reflective.
Sorry to interrupt you. I believe you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so so this is the 10 lectures during the first 9 weeks of the semester. We had the 2 projects, 12 weeks, 2 weeks for the intensive, and 6 interim submissions, averaging 2.5 weeks per submission. This is the discussion and work with the students was has taken most of the time. I'm not accounting for the practice by doing, because we couldn't really measure how much the students have put into the work. However, with the 15 hours of lecture sessions, the audiovisual with the lecture, that was equivalent to 120 hours of work and preparation for that. Matching the CLOs with site design, these are the 16 potential lenses at 4 scales on the natural and urban physical. These were the 4 different scales that we have defined for them, so that they could work exactly within these boundaries. These were the set of the rubric that was present and utilized in the site analysis and design directive. We had some of the lines, we had analysis as well and synthesis. Some of them had only analysis, some of them had only synthesis. And with the averages. These were the grades, and this is a close-up of the grades, and these are the performance of the students across only that particular first phase of the semester of the studio. What you see here in terms of troughs, those troughs when it comes to the synthesis actually, and you realize that we were not successful in bringing in the students to think about and this is the performance of all lenses of site analysis and synthesis, okay, of the students, okay. Now, with the user need assessment and program, I mean, we had to go through them bit by bit and teach them how to formulate the program, how to integrate with the users, the set of questions that they need to raise, the narrative that they have to produce on that, but also we had to teach them on how to deviate from the norm, from the cultural inheritance that they are ingrained in. Yani how to rethink the living room, how to think the dining, how to rethink all the necessary functions in light of the collective dimension of the project on one side, but also in light of the severe economic crisis that everyone is living in, and how to live in an affordable way. And these are the examples of the work of the students that they have produced in doing such a narrative. So we had 105 different units, and obviously I'm just showing you a small set of that program by the students. This is a summary of the students' program in terms of the different sizes, and this is where I've noted some revisions of these areas because they were still large with respect to again, use of precedents. We have undertaken 52 case studies in total that was reserved for them as a basis for their review, with 32 potential lenses that they had to undertake. And one of the lectures, I've applied myself those lenses into the analysis of 2 projects, okay, and then show them how this is being done. This is the case study, program concept, the lexicon, what is this, and the set of deliverables. All right, this is the performance of the students, and this is where they are in terms of the use of precedents. Relatively, they did well. With the red circle, obviously, is the average 70. You could see that, that was a good thing. Site and conceptual design, this is their work. Again, problems in the site design and the conceptual massing more than the previous. Now, in terms of CLOs, I have not yet had the chance with Maxime to compile all the performance of the students across the semesters through the CLOs. We have only today the averages of the students. You could see 2 of the students had gotten zeros in some of the projects, but you would see here the last, if you want, the last presentation, which is in blue. Rana and Khalid Abdurrahman did not present, so they got a 0. However, you would read that some of the good even students have got below the 70. Mariam Khudr, Mariam Ali, Musa Noor, Yani Yusuf Shams. So there were a number of them who just failed the last part of the semester because of their absence, unfortunately. And they were not receiving the necessary feedback to be able to evolve to the project. And finally, the average grade is what you see here in red. So the class average by CLOs is not ready. Specimens of students' work. I'm sorry, I'm going to go very quickly. Maybe use of precedents. If I and show you examples. ما بعرف أي واحد هيدا بس let me see if I have time. If not, the set of examples on the use of precedents and program. خليني أرجع شوي على هيدا massing study. I really don't remember who. خليني أشوف شوي. This is the early massing study. Okay, by so the program, modularity, lexicon from the narrative, the site, the sections, and how they are expected to move into the project. شفتوه ولا لا؟
بلا
okay. And the integrated conceptual through again the same student, how it evolved to reach that particular stage and the concept, what is the concept is about. Really, Hon, and I'm glad to see someone who has taken and arrived at grasping the nature of negative or private versus public, and how the hierarchy works, and how the architecture contributes to this. Moving into the different scheme, the scheme itself, the distribution of the project, and then coming through the different sections and formulation of the programs, and then moving into the sustainability, environmental dimensions, and coming to the from the site all through, moving from the larger scale to the scale of the floor, and how to get through the modularity, looking into the units, each unit, how different units work, and how they contribute to each other to form the project. So that's actually one of the successful ones. We had more miserable ones. If you have time, we can show it to you, but I need just to show you, in a span of 2 weeks, they were able to develop the 3D model of the whole site and produce work that I can show you by, for instance, Rana, who unfortunately failed the semester because she did not meet, but the diagrams, the sensibility of the site, and the use of precedents and the like are extremely, mature within the 2 weeks to be able to produce something like that. Avoid such a problem. I'm done.
Very interesting, Jamal. I'm